Now it's time to begin learning the Greek language. Of course, it is essential with any new language to master its alphabet. The Greek alphabet is a famous alphabet that's been used in a variety of ways, not only for the study of Greek, but has influenced the medical profession, science, and various other things. So many of these letters will be familiar to us already. The ancient Greek alphabet developed from the Phoenician alphabet and settled in its current form around about 900 BC. There are 24 letters in the Greek alphabet, and we're going to go through them all together and then one by one. The chart that we have here shows us the name of each letter, how the letter is written in lowercase, how the letter is written in uppercase. Then we have an English transliteration following the Erasmian pronunciation. These transliterations will not affect us much as we study Greek, but they will be useful when you are reading maybe some commentaries and some books that use Greek words, but instead of actually using the Greek alphabet to spell out those words, they'll use these transliteration spellings. Then we have a pronunciation as we would find it according to the Erasmian pronunciation. And then in the final column, we have the modern pronunciation for letters that differ from the Erasmian pronunciation. So there's a lot of information here. We're going to go through it bit by bit so that it's not overwhelming. The most important things for you to learn at this point is the name of each letter, the lowercase letters, and how to pronounce the letters. Now, uppercase letters do occur in the New Testament, and we do need to be familiar with these, but by far and away it's more important at this stage to master the lowercase letters. Well, let's go through the alphabet. First, I'm going to go through the whole thing using the Erasmian pronunciation, then I will go through using the modern pronunciation. So, first, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Now let's go through them again using the modern pronunciation. Alpha, vita, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mi, ni, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. All right, that's the full table of the Greek alphabet. Now we'll go through and look at each letter on its own, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. First, alpha. When we write alpha, we will write it like this, imagining that the line of your page is there. So we'll see that the lowercase alpha is very similar to our English lowercase a, and the uppercase alpha is exactly the same as our uppercase a. In the Erasmian pronunciation, this would be pronounced like the A in father, ah, ah. In the modern pronunciation, this would be pronounced like the A in away, ah, ah. Quite similar, but the modern pronunciation is a little shorter. Next letter, beta or vita. When we write this, imagining the line is there, we begin with the stem hanging below the line, moving upwards and then curving around. Now, this looks a little bit like our English capital B, but with some obvious differences with the stem, and it's a little more rounded. However, the uppercase vita is exactly like our capital B in English. The Erasmian pronunciation is like a hard B sound, as in bat, b, bat. According to the modern pronunciation, this is more of a soft sound like V in vat, v. And so we can pronounce the name of this letter differently, either as beta or as vita, vita. Our next letter is gamma or gamma. Again, if we imagine the line of our page, we will write this as so. It looks a little bit like our English Y, but with a little bit of a loop and with that loop hanging below the line. You'll notice in the font here that you can't really see the loop, and that's often the case with some Greek fonts, and that's not an inappropriate way to write the letter either. But generally we want to try to retain a little bit of that loop below the line for the lowercase gamma. For the uppercase gamma, it looks like this strange right angle sign. Now, according to the Erasmian pronunciation, this is a hard G sound, like G in get. And according to the modern pronunciation, we can also have that G sound, but more often it's more of a guttural Y, Y, as in yet sound, G or Y. It's a little bit hard to explain, you kind of have to hear it. So that's gamma or gamma. Our next letter is delta. If we imagine the line of your page there, start at the top and curve down as so. The uppercase delta is a triangle. Now, in the Erasmian pronunciation, this is a hard D sound, D as in dig. But in the modern pronunciation, this has become more of a soft sound like the in this. And so we will pronounce it either as delta or as delta. Our next letter is epsilon. This is written like a backwards 3. And the uppercase version is exactly like our uppercase English E. Both pronunciation systems treat this much the same way. It's an E sound, as in met, E, met. Next we have zeta, or zeta. If we imagine our line here, this has a little twist at the top, curving down, and then hanging below the line with its little tail. So twist at the top, coming down, and a little tail hanging below the line. The uppercase version is like our English capital Z or Z. In both pronunciation systems, this can be pronounced as a straight ahead Z or Z sound, like zoo, or with a DS sound, like at the end of the word bids, z, z. That's the pronunciation I prefer, z. So this letter would be zeta if you're using the Erasmian pronunciation, or zeta, zeta with the modern. Our next letter is eta or ita. Imagining the line here, we have a little curve down to the line and then a second stem that hangs below the line. The uppercase version of eta or ita is like our English capital H. In the Erasmian pronunciation, this is pronounced as an AI sound, as in air, air, air. According to the modern pronunciation, this is more like the I sound in spit, I, spit. Now I recognize that not all my viewers will pronounce spit the same way that I do. So we can also use the French word petite, I, petite, I, I. It's an I sound. This is one of the most major differences between Erasmian and modern pronunciations, because in fact we will see a number of vowels that will have this I sound, like the eta or ita. So this letter is known as eta or ita. Next we have theta or theta. This is written kind of like an O shape with a belt. It's usually kind of a rounded belt like that, but some fonts will just have a straight line across. The uppercase version is quite similar. Usually the O is a little wider and the line across does not necessarily connect to that O shape. This, in both pronunciation systems, is pronounced with a th sound, as in thin. So that's theta or theta. Next we have iota, also known as iota. This is like our English letter I, but with a little curve at the bottom and without a dot. There's no dot above. The uppercase version of iota is like our English uppercase I, but not with the stems at the top of the bottom. This will produce an I sound or sometimes a y sound. According to the modern pronunciation, it's the I in hit, hit, sometimes like the y in yet. In the modern pronunciation, actually we can also have the y sound, but it's more like the I sound in spit or petite. In other words, this will sound the same as our letter 2 letters ago, ita. Next we have kappa. The lowercase kappa is written like our English K, but in English we would have a longer stem for the lowercase. That's not the way it's written in Greek. The lowercase kappa really just looks like the uppercase kappa, but a smaller version of it. And the uppercase kappa is just like our capital letter K. In both pronunciation systems, this is just like our English letter K in kid, k. Next we have lambda. This is written with a slight curve at the top, stem going down to the bottom, and then a second stem, as so. Be a little bit like a camel. The uppercase version of lambda is like an English upside down V, as we see there. In both pronunciation systems, this is our L sound, like the English letter L, as pronounced in leg, L, leg. Next we come to mu, or mi. If we imagine our line here, this has a stem that runs below the line, and then a curve, and then a little curved stem at the bottom. Line down, curve, and little curved stem at the bottom. The uppercase mu or mi is like our capital letter M. And like in English, it is simply pronounced with an M sound in both pronunciation systems. M as in mat, m, mat. Next we have nu or ni. Nu is written like our English letter V. So don't be confused, it's not a V sound, it's an N sound. The uppercase nu is written like our uppercase letter N, and it is pronounced like our English N, as in nut. Nut. Next we have a tricky letter known as xi or xi. If we imagine our line here, this begins with a little twist, a second twist, a curve to the line, and then a tail at the bottom. Sometimes our fonts don't show those curves, or the twists, I should say, but the proper way to write them is to have little curve, and then the tail. Now the uppercase letter xi or xi consists of 3 vertical lines in parallel formation, with the middle line being a little shorter than the other 2. Like that. This sound is a X sound, as in the X in fox. X, X. So this is known as xi or xi. Next we have omicron, which is very straightforward. The lowercase omicron is just like our lowercase letter O. The uppercase omicron is just like our uppercase letter O. And it's pronounced like our letter O. The O in not, O, O. Omicron. Our next letter is the letter pi or P, perhaps one of the most famous of Greek letters for various reasons. This is written with 2 vertical stems, with the second stem having a slight tail and a table across the top, like so. The uppercase version of pi or P looks like this, kind of a strange shape, maybe like a square horseshoe or something like that. In both pronunciation systems, this is a straightforward P, as in pit. Although, actually in the modern pronunciation, sometimes you can have a slightly softer P sound, as in B, B. But for now, it's not worth distinguishing that. So this is pi or P. Next we come to rho. If we imagine our line here, we begin with the stem below the line, coming up and then curving around. It looks like our small case letter P, but it doesn't have a stem at the top. Our English P is formed like that. But rho has straight around curve, as so. Now, even though it looks like P, it is not a P sound. It is an R sound with a slight guttural, R. Now, the uppercase letter rho is actually like our uppercase letter P, so this can be confusing. Looks like P, but it actually sounds like R, as in rug, R, rug, R. That's rho. Our next letter is the Greek letter sigma. This is formed by curving and shooting out like that, as so. Now, the lowercase sigma has 2 forms. The second form, if we imagine the line here, is a little bit like our little letter S in English, but the top curve is bigger than the smaller curve, and the smaller curve hangs below the line. That bottom curve is the smaller curve. There we see it. Now this second form is what's known as the final sigma. So whenever sigma occurs at the end of a word, it will be formed like this and not like this. So this sigma will be used at the beginning and in the middle of words. This sigma only at the end of words. The uppercase sigma looks like this letter. Often in English, for some reason, people think this is an E letter. I guess it looks like a capital letter E to some extent, but it is formed as so. In the Erasmian pronunciation, sigma is pronounced with a z sound, as in hose, hose, z. In the modern pronunciation, it's more of a straightforward S sound, as in sit, sit. So that's sigma. Next we come to tau, or tav. The lowercase tav looks a little bit like our capital T, but is shorter, has a curve at the bottom of the stem, but has that table going across, like our capital T. The uppercase tav is exactly like our English capital T and is bigger than the lowercase version. In both pronunciation systems, this is a straightforward T sound, as in tip. Next is upsilon, or ypsilon. This is written like our lowercase letter U, but without the stem. In English, we would write U like that, with a stem coming down. In Greek, it is just down, then up. The uppercase version is exactly like our uppercase letter Y. The Erasmian pronunciation treats this like the U sound in book, book, O. The modern pronunciation system, however, treats it like ita and yota, with an I sound, as in spit, or petite, I, I. So the systems have quite different pronunciations for this letter also. It's known as upsilon or ypsilon. Next we come to phi, or phi. If we imagine our line here, this is a circle sitting on the line with a stem running through it. Circle sitting on the line, stem running through it. The uppercase version looks much the same, but generally the circle figure is a little wider and the stem is shorter. This is an F or a PH kind of sound. For both pronunciation systems, it's like the PH in photo or the F in foot. F, f. That's phi or phi. Next we come to chi, or chi. If our line is here, this is a little bit like an X that hangs below the line. A slight curve on the first leg, like that. The uppercase version is just like our capital letter X. In the Erasmian pronunciation, this will be like the CH in loch, loch, loch. It's a ch sound. In the modern pronunciation, we have that also, but also an H sound, as in huge, a sort of rough breathing H sound, huge. So this is chi or chi, chi or chi. The next letter is psi or psi. If we imagine our line as so, this is a little bit like Poseidon's fork. We've got an U shape, a U shape there with a prong running through it. The uppercase is much the same, a little bigger with a shorter stem. This sound, since I mentioned Poseidon, is actually a PS sound, as in lips, ps, or Poseidon, ps. So this letter is psi, or psi. The final letter of the Greek alphabet will be quite familiar to us also. This is omega. The lowercase looks like our English W, but with soft curves rather than hard angles, as so. the uppercase omega is a little bit like an O, capital O shape with feet. Feet that stick out to the side like that. In the Erasmian pronunciation, this is a long O sound, as in tone. O, tone, O. In that way, it is distinct from the other O sound in the Greek alphabet, omicron, which is a short O, O. In the modern pronunciation, however, omega and omicron sound virtually the same. It's a short O sound, O, not O, O. This is omega. So bringing it all together, we see the 24 letters of the alphabet with their lowercase forms, uppercase forms here, Erasmian pronunciation, and modern variations. It's vital that you learn and master this alphabet as quickly as possible because we cannot progress any further with the learning of Greek without having a clear grasp of these letters. I think you will find that the Greek alphabet is fun. It's interesting in various ways. There are some similarities with the English alphabet. And I find it beautiful, actually. So enjoy the learning of these letters. You might find it helpful to perhaps tackle it with 4 letters at a time. Take alpha, beta, gamma, delta at a time, master those, and then move on to the next 4 and progress in that way.